Hello and welcome to the next video, my MSI 2024 series, where we're going to cover the bot laners 80 carries going into this event. Some stats which are a little more in depth than they were for the other roles, and then champion pools, and finally ranking the players. So in games played, you see multiple numbers. The last 3 days, that's been a very standard number. So that's the thing. And then on the top, you see different colors: pink, purple, blue, representing the categories. So, first number is total games played for a player. So, example, Jackie Love or Elk. So, Jackie Love played 16 playoff games. When we take the two Senna games away that he played, he has 14. So, that's represented in purple because the Senna games are going to hurt CS gold per minute, which then we can't divide that gold per minute number divided by the damage per minute because the gold number is screwed up. So we have to actually just take those two stats from the games that weren't including Senna, and then return on investment, which is damage divided by gold. And lastly, you see the last number. So for Jackie Love, it's 13. So that is represented of the games that are that Senna was not involved in at all, right? So that is for the diffies. I shouldn't have even referenced an LPL player for the diffies. It doesn't make a difference because we don't have those stats. But for everybody else, it does matter, right? Because if you're playing into a Senna bot lane, your numbers are going to be inflated. If you're playing with Senna as an AD carry, your numbers are going to be harmed and deflated, if you will. So we have three different kind of, I guess, like groups of games to go over, and it does hurt the sample, and we do have to keep that in mind. So a couple players that didn't play Senna at all were Han Sama and Noah, and we'll talk about that in the next portion of the video. So KDA, the top two: Betty, PSG Talon, 8. We saw Maple yesterday for PSG. Excuse me. The two carry roles, Maple, Betty, playing KDA games in PSG and in the PCS. So that's a thing. Elk 7.6, of course. Elk, world class, excellent player. Been a fan of his since he was with Team Wii. So that's a thing. The KDAs that are lower: Jackie Love and Guma, 3.6 and 3.7 respectively. So that's something interesting to think about, that their KDAs are not that high. CS per minute. So CS, Betty, 10.2. The only one going over 10 a minute in the non-Senna game. So this is, you take the Senna away, I mean, your CS should be higher than what it is. A lot of these guys actually much lower than I expected. Pays 9.8. So also quite high. Lower end, Yeon and Masu. Masu, 8.2. I was actually rather disappointed by how the stats looked for Masu. After actually putting him on the board and things of that nature, and actually comparing them and seeing them in this format, it's like, oh, he's leaving a little bit on the table. Very young player, and I'll talk about that in the rankings. But Yeon also 8.7, not quite enough. KP, who is the most involved? Well, Elk and Masu, both over 3 out of every 4 kills, nearly 4 out of every 5. Their teams are fighting around their 80 carries. The two lower end are Han Sama, below 64%. So under 2 out of every 3 kills. It's a very different vibe, right? G2 fighting all around the rift, not necessarily with Hans present, where a lot of these teams, I mean, hell, actually 9 of these 12 80 carries in teams are over 70% KP for their 80 carry. The other two that are below, Betty, 68%, and then Easy Love at 68. Easy Love joining GAM Esports due to the VCS scandals that are going on. Gold per minute, who's getting the most gold when you take away the Senna games? Han Sama, 488 gold per minute, followed by Betty at 480. The lower end, so who's not really getting that much gold? Masu, 419. That's not a shock, right? No farm. I mean, of course, kills do help, but at the same time, no farm is gonna give you some trouble. And then Guma, 449 gold per minute. So not getting as much gold as you'd like either. He played a lot of Senna games. A couple players played 4 each, and Guma is one of them. So out of 15, that's quite significant. Damage per minute. Who is dealing the most damage? And Elk is no surprise, 854 DPM. That's been Elk all season long, around 800%. 800%, geez. 800 damage per minute. And then Noah, 853. Did not expect Noah to be second in this group, but he is. Lower end, Masu, 618. And Snaker, 674. Think about that. Snaker is 674 DPM, and that is second last. Masu is 618, and he is last. Like, there's a massive difference between, like, that was what really concerned me about Masu. Yes, he's not dealing a ton of damage, getting a ton of gold, but, that is very passive play. Shoot, like, you have Elk dealing 230 more DPM. Like, that's insanity. Truly, insanity. Makes me want to double check my numbers. It's that off the chart. In terms of return on investment, so damage relative to gold. How much damage are you getting out of the gold you're receiving? For AD carry, I think that's important. I think that's a really important stat because it's the AD carry. Now, understand weak side AD carries and things of that nature, but still you want your AD carry to be dealing some damage. You do not want them to be at like 20% damage on your team. I don't think that that's what you'd like to see. So the highest, Yeon, 1.85, because he had 833 DPM and 450 gold per minute. So that's something to think about. And Root as well, 1.85. So both of them actually getting more damage out of gold than Elk, although Elk leads in DPM. Lower end, 1.42 for Snaker, and Hans Sama, 1.43. So despite Hans getting all that gold, he did not deal quite a ton of damage with it. That's the thing, right? He's not really getting a lot of, honestly, Noah's not 1. Yeon's 1. But you look at Noah and Hans, 1.81, 1.43, that's a decent difference there. That's I personally I think that's pretty significant. I had somebody ask me because in mid lane I had caps over Faker, and in part it was due to damage, and I'm not including what Faker does. Mind games with owner in terms of actually getting him to do what he's got to do, and shot calling, we took that out. So like seeing a significant difference in damage, it's like these two players are playing at very different. What's the word I'm looking for? They're just playing very differently. Their impact on the Rift is very different. And in my opinion, when you look at Noah and Hans, that's a pretty big difference. Yeon and Masu, just as big of a difference as well. In terms of laning, the two lanes that are gapping, T1 and PSG. So Guma and Keria. So Guma by himself. We took, obviously not, I don't have Keria's numbers on here. 330 gold, 16 CS difference, and 275 XP, which wasn't one of the highest. And you'd say 16 CS difference. Look at all these teams. It's got to be wrong. I double checked it, and if you take the 4 Senna games away that T1 played, as well as the one game where they played into Senna against HLE, in the 10 games otherwise, you do the math, they're up 16 CS per game, which is a pretty big diffy. Other bot lane that did well is Betty and I guess Woody. So Betty, 580 gold up, 9 CS. So every game he goes even. There's a game he's up 1,160 gold. Every game that Guma goes even, there's a game that they were up 30 CS in LCK playoffs. XP, TL's bot lane actually ahead in the LCS, 255, and then 420 XP, which is one of the highest in the tournament. Lower end, Masu down 280 XP, and actually 455 gold. So every game that Masu went even, there was a game where he was 900 gold behind. Going into this event, I've said this about other videos, said in my G2 preview video as well as all the other teams. If you are from a non-Eastern region, as far as major Eastern regions are concerned, if you are not dominating your lane going into this event, I really don't know how you're going to play into dominant major region Eastern laners. Before those 4 teams at this event have 4 of the top 6 bot duos in the world. I think that's pretty safe to say. The two that aren't here, Ruler missing, Viper Delight. I think that is pretty easy to put together. So, like everyone's saying, the 80 carry pool at this event kind of stinks. And it's like, well, I mean, Viper isn't here, right? Gala isn't here. Ruler isn't here. But at the same time, the top part, at least duo-wise, you're going to have a tough time getting better bot duos outside of the two that I mentioned. So when the other players are here, and it's like, Masu, if you're down 500 gold on average, and you played Yeon Core JJ for quite a bit of your games, and I think they may have played Dignitas for 3 games, C9 for a few games. Like, what are, like, this is not, that's not the, I mean, they're going to struggle, and that's fine. Actually, I was going to talk about this in the rankings, and I'm kind of ranting now about it, I guess. A young bot lane. Honestly, I just hope they come away from this event with a learning experience. But, yeah, I'm not going to rant any farther than that. So, that's it for the stat portion of this video. Now on to the champion pools. All right, now for the champion pools. We have a bunch of champions here, as well as the Discord rankings. I think 17 people participated, or 18 this time, in the 80 carry rankings, and that's how it turned out over the aggregate. Everybody picked Elk as number 1. So, some key champions pretty much everybody played. Callista, Lucian. A lot of people played Zeri at least once in playoffs. Varus was played by a lot of people. Senna by a lot of people. So most played in terms of Callista. Elk played it more than anything else. Masu also. Zeri, Pays, and Betty leaning into Zeri a bit for their 2 teams. Varus, a common pick for a lot of players at this event. Jackie Love, Noah, Yeon, and Root all played Varus more than anything else. So that's something that I think that's the most on the board. Senna. 3 teams really leaned into Senna. T1, Guma, Gam Esports, Easy Love, and then Astral Esports with Snaker. Played Senna more than anything else, and I think Easy Love, it may have been a tiebreaker with KDA that made me end up picking it, but regardless, who's the best champion. So really, those were the key champions that everybody kind of played. And then we have a few that, we got to think about it too, actually. So, Callista. On this board, Callista, only Root didn't play Callista. So that's something to think about, right? So everybody else at this event played Callista recently. Root didn't. So is it not an option for him? Is it not something he wants to play? Was it banned against him all the time? I mean, these are things that I don't have on the board that, you have to kind of consider as factors. Zeri, Masu didn't play it. Jackie Love didn't play it. Hansama didn't play it. But a lot of other people did. Lucian, both of the NA 80 carries, Zeon and Masu, did not play Lucian, but everyone else did. Easy Love and Betty, as well as Hansama, did not play Varus. Senna, neither LEC bot laner, Hansama, nor Noah played Senna bot lane in playoffs. And then some weird picks, right, that only a couple people played. Caitlyn. Caitlyn was picked by Elk and only Elk at this event. I think he lost, which is probably why no one else played it. Jinx, played by a handful of people. Elk, Jackie Love, Guma, Noah, Hansama. Draven, a pick that was buffed going into this tournament. Jackie Love, Pays, Guma, Easy Love, and Snaker all played Draven. No one else did. Something to also think about, Elk really has never been a big Draven guy, if I recall. Kesa, played by only Pays, Masu, Root. Ash, Guma, and Noah. Tristana, Hansama's the only one to play Tristana in playoffs. Zaya, Noah, Yeon, Snaker. Ezreal, played by Noah. And Smolder, played by Yeon, Betty, Easy Love, and Snaker. And that should show you an example of the difference between 14.5, 14.6. Because if you watched my 14.6 video, we went over how the presence changed with some key champions that were on that 14.6 patch, and Smolder pretty much was eliminated from the meta completely. So that is a thing. Um, that is a thing. So we got that done. We got the champion pools done. Aphelios, I don't know if I mentioned that, pays Guma Hansama. I'll play Aphelios this past month. Now let's rank these players, these 80 carries. Like I said and kind of alluded to early on, we have 4 elite 80 carries at this event. I think it is no. Honestly, I was surprised to see some people actually not ranking those 4 above everyone else and just kind of going from there. But I'm going to do that essentially here. So, in terms of this, so I'm going to put Snaker in 12th. A lot of people had, I think everybody had Easy Love 12th on the Discord. But Easy Love, despite not playing anywhere last year, I mean, I think he's getting better as time goes on. I think he's going to just be better than Snaker because he's from a better region. He has more experience. And I mean, I'm not supposed to really think about that sort of stuff in here. I'm supposed to really think about stats. But even looking down at my board here, I mean, Snaker didn't deal a lot of damage, and Easy Love actually had a better return on investment. Neither team really, Vietnam, Easy Love and Elio not doing very dominant in the first 15 minutes, but I think it's neither here nor there. I'm sure not many people really care about that part. 10th is Masu. Personally, going into this video, before I put the stats up, I mean, Masu struggled at times, but I wanted to put him in a better spot than 10th. I really did. But after looking at the stats and everything else, I mean, their FlyQuest bot duo struggle street. I understand their top lane, top side centric, a lot of the gold going there, a lot of the pressure going there. But at the same time, the young bot duo does need to get something done at this tournament. And also come away with it with experience. We have to have young people coming away with experience, especially in the Western regions, because it wouldn't shock me if Fly ended up going to Worlds. So we got to get some experience here and then parlay it into something at the end of the season. After that, we have so the next 4, next 4 or 5. Yan dealt a lot more damage than I thought he did. I mean, he dealt a lot more damage than I thought he did. Betty did as well. We're going to go we're going to go Yan 9th. I know I've had the Team Liquid players a lot lower than I think a lot of people expected going to this event. A lot of people riding the high of Team Liquid going and winning spring, but they're giving me like Mad Lions of 2023 vibes in terms of going to this. No, yeah, Mad won in for the first seed and didn't win a single game. Yan dealt a lot of damage. I give him a ton of credit for that. I'm honestly surprised by that. I have my reservations about Yan in general. Not to mention, just personally, Root dealt more damage. Noah dealt more damage. I just trust Betty a bit more because Betty has played against these players a lot. He has had an illustrious career. He's done a lot of work. And, I mean, at 15 minutes, he's very dominant in the PCS. The PCS is not that far behind from the LCS. Playing into bot lanes with CFO, I mean, I think it's Shun and Sword Art. Sword Art is not a bum. I understand that he has kicked around a bit and he isn't what he once was, but I don't consider Sword Art a bum. I don't consider a lot of players on CFO bums, Karsa, Gory, the like. So Betty is 8th because he also dealt a good amount of damage. He dealt 777 DPM, got a lot of gold, had very nice CS numbers. So I mean, he's getting work done. I mean, 1.5 CS per minute higher than Yeon when you take all the Senna games out. 15 CS at 10 minutes. 15 CS at 10 minutes. I understand, like, different levels of play, but I don't think the PCS is that much farther behind the LCS in terms of 1 seed into 1 seed sort of deal there. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just me doom and gloom about LCS or something, but it is what it is. Seventh is Root. Um, Root stats are very, very strong. Personally, I've said this before about 80 carries, Korean 80 carries that go to minor regions. I feel like they kind of just go on cruise control until the late game team fights and then just win the game with a hands diff. Root dealt a lot of damage, and he had to have dealt that damage not only doing that. He had to deal damage throughout the game to get 153 DPM. I mean, I don't think you wait till 30 minutes and then deal all that damage at once. I know you deal a significant portion, but 850 is something I think you build up throughout the game. So, Root is seventh. He also had a penta at Worlds. He showed up at Worlds. He was world class. He did not int his face off. And even though he's older, he does his job and he stands his ground. So Root is seventh. We're gonna go Hans sixth. I didn't think I was gonna do that going into this video either. But Noah just is doing so much more damage relative to the gold he's getting. G2 relying on caps to get this done. Truly. I think Mickey is the better half of that bot duo with Hans. So everyone say, oh, look at how they're doing in this, that, and the third. It's like, I think Mickey's the better part of that. I mean, I said BB is the weakest player on the team. Hans is second, and he's a close second. So Hans is sixth. Noah is fifth. I think he's just a better version of Root. That's not just to say because he's a Korean import, but at the same time, he's just kind of doing what I said, that tends to happen. I mean, you look at the numbers, 9.3 is not all that crazy, but 850 DPM is. I mean, that's 154 DPM more than Hans. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. I mean, 1.81 versus 1.43, one of the lowest ones at this tournament. Hans is getting 6 because champion pool is something to think about. I understand people say, oh, he's limited this and that. I'm like, Hans can do a lot of different things. Are all of them at the level of his Draven? No. But at the same time, I feel like he can do a lot more than people give him credit for. Now you have the top 4, right? These top 4 are on another tier. So just looking at my numbers again, we're going to go Pays 4th. The laning numbers aren't that strong with Pays and Lahans. They struggled at times in playoffs. Guma Carria, I mean, up 16 CS at 15 minutes in case of Guma across LCK. Playoffs, take away the Senna games, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But Pays and Lahans still are easily top 6 bot lane. Pays is one of the youngest players in LOL Esports. I truly do believe one day Pays is going to be the best AD carry in the world. And growth is just what's going to have to keep happening. A lot of people don't want to give him that patience. Unfortunately, replacing Ruler is a tough task. And winning LCK titles should be something to note and say, hey, this kid actually has it. So, a lot of people saying, oh, gen.g's bot lane sucks and this or that. It's like, shoot, they're still top 6 in the world. To say top 6 out of 45 bot lanes in major regions suck, I think, is just indicative of just how silly people can be. Third, we're going to go Jackie Love. Keep in mind, at this event, he may be better than Guma. He may end up better than Guma at this event because of the Draven buff. This patch benefits him a bit more than it would Guma, but Guma also does play Draven. We went over it. It's on the board here. So it's not something out of the woods necessarily for one over the other. But Guma just doesn't int as much. Like, Guma can, in my opinion, and Guma showed it at Worlds this past year, but he's also shown throughout his career he can do more than just play weak side. He's a very great weak side player, very great KDA type player, when he needs to be and when he's expected to be. Where Jackie, just at least this past year, split was not the case. 369 is dealing a lot of damage in top lane. Cream is expected to deal a lot of damage in mid lane. But Jackie Love is not staying alive in the bot lane necessarily. He does do some oops, like that's been Jackie Love's deal for quite a long time. That's why people say summer Jackie Love's different than spring Jackie Love. Now, Jackie Love is still an elite bot laner. He very well is top 5 in the world, but Guma is also in that conversation. Guma's had a great split. He had a great playoffs. Now they lost, and people are going to say, yeah, but against Gen G or this or that or the third, and it's like, I'm looking at the stats, and I'm looking at the split. We're looking at a lot of different things with this. So I'm going to put Guma second, and then Elk first. And I just want to say, as I put Elk first, how about his career a bit? Going from Team Wii, alongside Missing, mind you, who ended up having a glow up as well. But Elk had to toil around on Ultra Prime. Man, talk about, perseverance. Being stuck on that shit show of an organization and team. And then coming from that, going to BLG, and being one of the top teams in the world. And Elk's always had that ability. He had that ability on Team Wii, and, he always, he deserved this after being stuck on Ultra Prime. And I feel bad for Doggo, too. Doggo's not as good as Elk, but Doggo also, a young player. They had a bright future and then went to, the BLG nonsense back then with Uzi, Doggo, Rise, and all that was not great. But now he's on Ultra Prime and he's stuck as well. So it's really unfortunate. Ultra Prime, not good. But Elk, we saw his Lucian play, showing a masterclass on the champion. Elk has been good for a very long time. Elk has been putting up serious damage for a long time. Very aggressive but tempered. And it's a weird thing to say, aggressive but tempered. But he knows when to deal damage. He knows when to make something happen and when he has to show up. And I mean, sure, people be like, oh, what about this series here or that series there? We're looking at 50 games here. We're looking at 75 games. How about 150 because he includes last year and some of the games that took place then. I mean, I think they played 160 over the year, but you're getting what I'm trying to say here. Elk is on another level, and it's also helping him that On alongside him is finally showing a lot of creativeness, and I can't wait to talk about that tomorrow. I really enjoyed talking about supports. When I did just, play solo queue and things like that, I like to play support. So it's just something fun to just, talk about. You can't necessarily relate to it, but at the same time, just fun to discuss. So talking about On's going to be very interesting tomorrow. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.